Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our channel. Today is the 15th of December 2025. We are continuing our Tawheed series. This is our 60th session. We are on volume 3 of Kitab At Tawheed, page 148, chapter 14. The title of the chapter is The Relationship Between Divinity and Lordship. Continue the text. Here it is important to provide some further elaboration on the relationship as it exists between al-uluhiyya and al-rububiyyah, lordship. Firstly, it becomes clear that every ilah, deity, is necessarily a Rabb, lord and master, either through creation, dominion and ownership, or by noble lineage, high-standing ancestry and an elevated origin. However, the reverse does not hold true. Not every Rabb is an ilah, and there exist numerous lords and masters in existence other than Allah in reality. Yet their lordship and mastery are finite, created, and not eternal, acquired, dependent, and not intrinsic in an independent sense. Their authority is contingent, conditioned by Allah's decree, whether cosmic, legal, or both, and not inherent or original. Thus, if one were to claim that there is no Lord except Allah, there is no owner except Allah, or there is no master except Allah, such statements would be erroneous if left unqualified. A qualifier is necessary, such as there is no Lord in his essence independently except Allah, or there is no Lord with absolute lordship except Allah, or similar expressions. Alternatively, the context may clarify the intended meaning, as is often stated in this book regarding Allah glorified be His Majesty, there is no deity except Him, and no lords besides Him. This context obligates the understanding that the Lord mentioned here is a Rabb, in the essential and independent sense, meaning necessarily Allah, the Almighty, the All-Wise. There are many lords, masters, and owners, but there is only one Rabb whose lordship and sovereignty are inherent, perfect, and absolute, independent of any other. Blessed be his names and exalted be his station. Indeed, there are also lords, masters, and owners besides Allah whose essences and entities exist in reality. However, they have overstepped their bounds by legislating without permission from Allah, thereby becoming Taghut. Alternatively, their followers have exaggerated their status and taken them as legislators beside Allah, thus regarding them as lords beside Allah. Without doubt, all of these have set up rivals to Allah and have taken deities besides Allah. But their ascription of such status to themselves or their followers, ascription of it to them or as something they supposedly deserved, is falsehood and deception. It exists only in their minds or in the sick minds of their followers. Although these tyrants or leaders have indeed practiced legislation besides Allah in reality, and their entities and legislations do exist outside of mere thought in the universe, their false claims to authority, their supposed sovereignty, or their alleged right to have no real existence, neither from their own intrinsic merits or their lordship, is not absolute or independent, nor by delegation from Allah, who refutes this with his statement, وَلَا يُشْرِكُ فِي حُكْمِهِ أَحَدًا, and he does not share his rule with anyone, and that's Quran 18:26. Truthfully and rightfully, eternally and forever. Just to the full context, it's not absolute independent nor independent from Allah, who refutes this with his statement. That statement, truthfully and rightfully, eternally and forever. Thus, the concept of uluhiyya, divinity, or ilahiyya, godhood, according to its correct Quranic definition, is the broader concept, encompassing within it the notion of a rububiyyah. When the two are mentioned together in a single context, a distinction must be made. However, when al-rububiyyah is mentioned alone, it is commonly understood by people to be equivalent to ilahiyya. This is akin to saying al-uluhiyya and al-rububiyyah. When they are combined, they diverge in meaning, but when they are mentioned separately, they converge. Although this expression is not merely entirely precise and is best avoided, especially in the light of the fact that Ibn Taymiyyah has so greatly corrupted these two concepts that their rectification is scarcely possible anymore. So Allah we belong and to Him return. Therefore, Rububiyyah is part of Uluhiyyah. In fact, it is its backbone, and upon it rests the covenant of the fitrah, innate nature. And it is upon this basis that the first question in the grave will be asked. Secondly, it becomes clear with certainty that there is no God but Allah. This statement is absolute and requires no further cautionary additions. There is no deity whatsoever in existence except Allah. These are mere names without realities behind them, names which Allah has sent no authority for. Whoever is named a deity by people other than Allah is nothing but an illusion and superstition that exists solely in the minds of those who falsely claim it. Their deviant imaginations create such entities, rendering them false deities, mere fabrications of the mind, much like the mind's estimation of impossibilities. Such entities do not exist as actual beings or realities outside of mental estimation, and even if their actual forms existed or had once existed in the external world, they had never possessed nor will ever possess the qualities, status, or merit by which they were falsely named as ilah, deity. Therefore, there is state phrases such as "there is no deity truly worthy of worship except Allah," or "there is no God deserving of worship except Allah," and similar expressions are meaningless and defective. Such phrases are frequently found in erroneous and confused translations of the testimony of faith by the sect of Wahhabism into foreign languages. Thirdly, it becomes certain that the fact that Allah, glorified be His Majesty, is the complete Rabb, with full rububiyyah, lordship, the absolute master, with unrestricted sovereignty and the rightful owner of true and complete dominion, is because He is the everlasting, the ever-living, the self-subsisting, the necessarily existent, eternal, everlasting, who created from nothing. He created for His own sake, not for the sake of anything else. For there was nothing before creation, absolutely. Thus, creatorship is the most specific attribute of ilahiyah, godhood, as was grasped by the scholars of Kalam, Islamic theology, in accordance with the fitrah, innate nature, guided by the verses of the Quran, particularly the verse of tamanu, mutual hindrance, upon which they unanimously agreed before the advent of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah with his egregious innovation, accusing the scholars of Kalam of negligence and falsely attributing his objectionable innovation to the righteous predecessors, the Salaf, who are free of such a claim. As for Rububiyyah, in its correct Quranic meaning, it derives from and is a branch of Ilahiyah in its proper Quranic meaning, not the other way around. It was a grievous misstep of Abu al-Abbas, Ahmad ibn Taymiyyah, that led to this catastrophic and terrible mistake. We seek refuge in Allah from the slips of the scholars, the arguments of the hypocrites with the book, and the rulings of misguided leaders. Fourthly, it becomes certain that testifying to Allah's hakimiyyah, sovereignty, which is the pinnacle of rububiyyah, is the essence of Tawheed, and the complete realization of the servitude for which humans and jinn were created. Thus, when a person says, "My Lord is Allah," they immediately acknowledge that they are obedient and submissive servants of Allah, worshipping Him, and implicitly affirm their God is Allah alone, without partner, and that there is no creator but Allah, necessarily and without exception. Therefore, the covenant of the fitrah, innate nature, was established in this manner. Okay, let's see if I can do the Arabic here. وإذا أخذ ربك من نبي آدم بني آدم ظهورهم من ظهورهم, it's too small to read. And mention when your Lord took from the children of Adam from their loins their descendants and made them testify to themselves, saying to them, "Am I not your Lord?" They said, "Yes, we have testified." That's Quran 7:172. The question in the grave will also follow this format. Who is your Lord? Who is your Prophet? What is your deed? This alone suffices to demolish the egregious tripartite categorization and to obliterate the vile Wahhabi falsehood that the disbelievers of Quraysh and the disbelievers of the Arabs acknowledge Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. This is a strong slap in the face of the foolish adherents of the Wahhabi sect. In any case, even Imam Ibn Taymiyyah is inconsistently and contradictory in this matter. Take, for example, his statement. His saying, "There is no God but you," affirms his uniqueness in al-ilahiyah, and al-ilahiyah entails the perfection of his knowledge, power, mercy, and wisdom. It thus affirms his kindness to the servants, for the ilah, deity, is the one who is worshipped, and the ma'lul, worshipped one, ma'lul, worshipped one, is the one who deserves to be worshipped, and his deserving to be worshipped is due to his attributes, which necessitate that he is the object of ultimate love and ultimate submission. Worship entails ultimate love alongside ultimate humility, and that's from, there's a reference here, let's read, as that's in Ibn Taymiyyah's Fatawa al-Kubra. The distorted definition of uluhiyya by Imam Ibn Taymiyyah is in reality a form of sophistry in rational matters and Karmatianism. I'm not sure what that is, Karmatianism in transmitted ones. This is a famous expression that he frequently employed and which he unjustly used to reject certain opponents in the barren and pedantic debates over the divine names and attributes. He was thus punished with the very thing he accused his opponents of. Do not gloat over the misfortune of your brother, lest Allah relieve him and afflict you. And we ask Allah for protection and well-being in this world and in the hereafter. The phrase is taken from the wording of the hadith reported by Wathala al-Asqa, recorded in Sunnah at-Tirmidhi. Okay, that's where that statement's from. The core issue lies firstly in correctly defining ilah, deity, followed by a correct definition of the term ibadah, and then connecting these two concepts in a sound and coherent manner. This can only be achieved by taking the Quran as a primary source, discarding other interpretations, and contemplating it with deep, enlightened thought. Reading it with thorough digestion and comprehension, unlike the superficial readings of those emerging from the Wahhabi sect who recite the Quran but it does not pass beyond their throat. One of you would belittle their own prayer, so this is from the hadith, belittle your own prayer in comparison to theirs, and your fasting compared to theirs. They pass through the deen like an arrow passing through its target. Notably, they worship with zeal, impressing people, and they are impressed with themselves. The inevitable outcome of their rejection of contemplation and reason, and their self-admiration and self-righteousness is that they kill the people of Islam and leave alone the people of idols, and call to the Book of Allah, yet have no true connection to it. For this reason, the caring advisor, upon him and his family be the most perfect blessings and salutations, said, "Whenever you meet them, execute them, for there is a reward for whoever executes them on the day of judgment." Some among them have even issued fatwa, legal edicts of excommunication against those who claim that the sun revolves around the earth, asserting instead that earth is stationary and does not rotate. They call to the Book of Allah, but they are far from it. We seek refuge in Allah from the failure, and we ask Him for protection and well-being in this world and the hereafter. Okay, so that's the end of this chapter. Any commentary on that?
No. Just a bit of rant against some of these guys.
Uh-huh. So you went on Ibn Taymiyyah about his sophistry and what have you.
Yeah.
So I know you've mentioned, for example, one of the videos, Ibn Taymiyyah's gruesome misstep, and you cite the main issue about his definition of ilah and being the blunder. So, is there any expansion on this? This is more stressing the issue of definitely ilah and rububiyyah is being a subordinate to ilah. Okay, so next chapter then, chapter 15, page 154, title, Illustrating an Example of a Specific Act of Worship. If one were to hold as a belief that the jinn can hide from Allah, evade him, or escape his grasp, regardless of whether they believe that the jinn as created entities are under the dominion of Allah without power over death, life, or resurrection, or whether they believe that the jinn have a kinship with Allah, they are with this specific belief, even though admittedly it is born of inherent contradiction, attributing to the jinn something of al-uluhiyah, divinity. This is the correct term, or equality with Allah, or lordship besides Allah, or call it as you wish. With this belief, the individual adhering to this is a mushrik and a kafir, deserving of entering into hell on the final day of resurrection, if the message has reached him and the proof has been established against him. Alternatively, the individual could be a murtad, apostate from Islam, if the individual had formally embraced it correctly. Consequently, his fear of the jinn is considered as being an act of worship, even if it is only a slight fear. The individual may believe that the jinn can be overcome, outmaneuvered, or even manipulated by way of magic, talismans, or even spell work. That matter is completely different from the fear which a devout Muslim may have or experience when fleeing from the attack of a lion. Although such fear may be overwhelming, even all-consuming, leaving the mind and body consumed by fear, he may flee blindly in the panic, fall or even break his neck. Even so, and by this I swear by Allah, bearing witness by Allah's testimony, challenging anyone on this point, that this overwhelming fear a Muslim could experience is by no way worship of the lion. May Allah forbid that the individual equates the lion with Allah or even considers the lion as being another god besides Allah. May Allah forbid that he dies as a mushrik or kafir if he fell into the pit and died therein. Rather, we hope from Allah that the individual's death would be considered as being martyrdom, thereby cleansing and erasing all sin and raising the rank of the individual on the day of judgment. Moreover, the specific example set out here of worshipping the jinn, should conclusively demonstrate that the definition of ibadah, worship, as set out by Ibn Taymiyyah, is utterly invalid. He had described ibadah as being the utmost humility with the utmost love. Despite rejection of the tripartite definition of Tawheed, Dr. Adnan Ibrahim fell into the same trap in broadly accepting Ibn Taymiyyah's definition. Such a definition is utterly nonsense. Just a second, Jack. Such a definition is utterly nonsense.
Or nonsensical.
Yeah. It is talk devoid of substance. Its greatest fundamental flaw is the failure to link the matter of belief at source, ensuring it conforms to the Book of Allah and the necessities of reason and perception. A middling flaw is use of the term utmost, which has no meaning here. This is because the notion of humility, love, or fear towards someone believed to possess divinity is worship, even if it is done in the slightest aspect, as shown by the example of worshipping the jinn in this present chapter. Another point to consider is that love is not considered as being worship if it is not preceded by a specific belief. Even if that belief led one to one of the markets weeping for their beloved, as was the case with the husband of Barira, may Allah be pleased with him, with them both, during the lifetime of the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, for which no rebuke was issued against him, nor is it worship if it causes one's nerves to collapse, requiring psychological or spiritual treatment, or even leads to insanity, or even worse, sectioning in a mental institution. To a lesser extent, its other flaws is that it is not comprehensive. Where is fear and hope? What is reliance and trust? Where are all these other aspects within the definition? Here we need not question how this absurd nonsense comes from Ibn Taymiyyah, a man renowned for having a formidable intellect, a matter recognized by friend and foe alike. This is the nature of being overpowered by desire, which blinds one's insight. Additionally, it is not exclusive. The so-called god of evil in Zoroastrianism and dualism is not loved, but rather is hated and detested. Yet he is humbled before, prostrated to, flattered with sacrifices and offerings made to him, in the attempt to try and avoid his evil and harm. All these matters are undoubtedly acts of worship by the necessity of reason and perception, as well as agreed upon by the consensus of people across languages. Okay, so next, that ends this chapter. Now we're going to some meaty stuff, I think. Chapter 16, page 157, the ominous tripartite division. One of our brothers, may Allah reward him, drew our attention to the claim made by adherents of the Wahhabi sect that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah had been preceded in his formulation of the faulty tripartite definition of Tawheed, division of Tawheed. They argue that it was not he who invented it, but rather he merely elaborated and emphasized it excessively. To this we respond as follows. Firstly, it does not concern us whether he was preceded in this matter or whether he was the one who invented it, for there is no objection to terminology, nor any fault in classification, organization, innovation, and renewal for the sake of advancing knowledge and understanding. Our objection to Imam Ibn Taymiyyah lies in his egregious errors and his grave injustice towards his opponents. Secondly, the claim that Imam Ibn Taymiyyah was preceded in this division has no basis in historical reality. Abu Abdullah Ubaydullah ibn Muhammad ibn Hamdan al-Ukbari, known as Ibn Battah, stated in Al-Ibana al-Kubra, because Allah the Exalted has always been with his word, his knowledge, his power, his authority, and all his attributes as one deity. These attributes are eternal with his eternal being, timeless with his timelessness, everlasting with his everlasting nature, and they remain as long as he remains. Our Lord has never been devoid of these attributes, even for the blink of an eye. However, the Jahmi sect sought to negate his attributes in an attempt to negate him. For the foundation of belief in Allah, which is obligatory upon creation to affirm their faith in him, is based on three things. The first is that the servant must believe in his aniyah, i.e., his essence, thereby distinguishing himself from the creed of the people of ta'til, negation, who do not affirm the existence of a creator. The second is to believe in his wahdaniyah,
Mhm.
oneness, thereby distinguishing himself from the creeds of the mushrikeen, who acknowledge a creator but associated others with him in worship. The third is to believe that he is described by the attributes that it is impossible for anyone except him to be described with such as power, knowledge, power, wisdom, and all the other attributes with which he described himself in his book. This is because we know that many who affirm his existence and his oneness through mere words fall into deviation concerning his attributes. Their deviation concerning his attributes renders their monotheism flawed. Moreover, we find that Allah the Exalted has addressed his servants, calling them to affirm each of these three things and to believe in them. As for his call to affirm his existence and his oneness, we will not elaborate on this here due to the length and breadth of the discussion, and because the Jahmi sect claims to acknowledge these two, even though their denial of the attributes nullifies their claims to both. That's from Ibn Battah's book, reference below in the text. So this is your commentary. To this, I would argue that the term appears as aniyah, his
India.
aniyah, his essence in the text. But what appears clear to me is that the original intended term was sorry, it's aniyah, and he was inniyah, his being, meaning that he exists as a creator and maker, i.e., the existence of his essence. Publishers both in print and online seem to have been confused, as were some of who cited this text, interpreting it as Rabbaniya, his lordship. This is if we are to give them the benefit of the doubt and not accuse them of deliberate distortion or fabrication, which many followers of the Wahhabi sect engage in. Divergent tripartite divisions. One can clearly see from Ibn Battah's analysis, this indeed is a tripartite division, not of the matter of Tawheed per se, but rather of al-Iman bil Allah, the belief in Allah, thus being comprised of three elements or facets. Point one, belief in his Niyyah, meaning the oneness of his being, i.e., that he exists as a creator, in contrast to those who deny the existence of the creator. Point two, belief in his wahdaniyah, which Ibn Battah briefly summarizes by saying to distinguish thereby from the creeds of the mushrikeen, who acknowledge a creator but associated others with him in worship. He does not elaborate further, as he and indeed all Muslims of his time, including his opponents, who he referred to as the Jahmiyyah, were not concerned with this topic at all, being more occupied with the debate over the attributes and the intellectual warfare that accompanied it. Point three, belief in his attributes, which is the primary focus of his book and the belief of and a battlefield of contention. Despite its flaws and the ill-intentioned motives behind its formulation, this division is far more just than that of Imam Ibn Taymiyyah, for it does not introduce false meanings to the terms uluhiyya, divinity, and rububiyya, lordship, as Imam Ibn Taymiyyah did. Some Wahhabis have also claimed that Imam Ibn Manda, in his book Kitab At Tawheed, had arranged it as follows. This is from that book. Chapters on Tawheed Rububiyyah, such as the beginning of creation, the creation of the throne, the decree of predestination, and the creation of the heavens and the earth, and other matters that serve as evidence of Tawheed Rububiyyah. Then he mentioned chapters related to Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, such as application, remembrance, and the greatest name of Allah, which is the word Allah. And then he mentioned chapters related to Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. Sorry, this book by Ibn Manda, is he from the Wahhabi school?
No, his previous revision, because they claim someone previous before Ibn Taymiyyah has a tripartite division.
Okay.
But
No,
Ibn
it's 'cause
Manda
when he said-
classified the book in these three sections.
Okay, because it's when he said the creation of the throne. That's something no Wahhabi would ever say that, because they say it's part of
What
the creation of the throne. It says that the kursi.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, sorry, yeah, my mistake.
No. Just read. No.
Okay.
Hmm.
However, this in fact is quoted from Usul Masail al-Aqidah in the Salaf wa in the Mubtadi', which was authorized by Professor Saud ibn Abdulaziz al-Khalaf. This is from the pure imagination on the part of the professor. In the organization of Imam Ibn Manda's book, he merely divided it into chapters without structuring them into separate books or sections. Therefore, it is most likely that he did not intend any form of division, neither dual nor tripartite nor any other. Rather, he arranged the chapters according to the history of the world and the sequence of creation, according to his own perspective, and Allah knows best. The group associated with the Wahhabi sect also claimed that Imam Qadi al-Qudah, Abu Yusuf Yaqub ibn Ibrahim ibn Habib al-Ansari al-Qufi, a compatriot of Imam of Abu Hanifa, may Allah be pleased with them both, had made an allusion to the purported tripartite division in his book, narrated by way of Imam al-Hafid Abu Qasim ibn Ismail al-Taymi al-Asbahani, in his book entitled Al-Hujjah fi Bayan al-Mahajja wa Shar' التوحيد ومذهب أهل السنة. The claim he placed in it the claim being he placed it in a separate section due to its importance, entitled Chapter on the Prohibition of Seeking the Modality of Allah's Attributes. Abu Amr Abdul Wahhab reported to us, my father reported to us, Muhammad ibn Ja'far al-Sarqasi reported to us, saying Muhammad ibn Salama al-Balkhi reported to us, Bishr ibn Walid al-Qadi from Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, that he said Tawheed is not to be established through qiyas, analogy. Have you not heard Allah the Exalted in the verse where he described himself as the all-knowing, the all-powerful, the strong, the sovereign, and he did not say, I am all-powerful because of such and such a cause, or I am all-knowing because of such and such a reason, or I am the sovereign due to such and such a meaning. Therefore, qiyas is not permissible in the matters of Tawheed. Allah is only known by His names and is only described by His attributes. Allah the Exalted has said in His book, O mankind, worship your Lord, you who created you and those before you, that you may become righteous. That's 221. And He said, do they not look into the dominions of the heavens and the earth and everything that Allah has created? 185. And He said, indeed, in the creations of the heavens and the earth and the alternation on the night alternation of the night and day and the ships that sail in the sea, that's Surah Baqarah 164, until where he said, for a people who reason. Abu Yusuf said, Allah did not say, look how I am the all-knowing, how I am the all-powerful, how I am the creator. Rather, he said, look at how I created. Then he said, he created you, then causes you to die. 3040. And he said, and in yourselves do you not see? 5121. Meaning, learn that these things have a Lord who turns them over and begins them, and He is their creator, just as He is yours. Allah has guided His creation by means of His creation, so that they may know that they have a Lord obey and unify in Tawheed, and so that they may know that He is their creator and not they themselves. Then He named Himself, saying, I am the merciful, I am the compassionate, I am the creator, I am the all-powerful, I am the sovereign. This being who created you is called the sovereign, the all-powerful, Allah, the merciful, the compassionate. These are His names by which He is described. Abu Yusuf said, Allah is known by His signs and by His creation, and He is described by His attributes and called by His names as He has described Himself in His book, and by what His messenger conveyed to creation. Abu Yusuf said, Indeed, Allah the Exalted created you and endowed you with faculties and limbs. As some of your limbs are unable to perform the function of others, He transitions you from one state to another, so that you may know that you have a Lord who created you. Your very self is a proof against you, demonstrating knowledge of Him through His creation. Then He described Himself, saying, I am the Lord, I am the merciful, I am Allah, I am the all-powerful, I am the sovereign. Thus He is described by His attributes and called by His names. Allah said, Call upon Allah, or call upon the merciful. Whichever name you call to Him belongs the best. To Him belongs the best names. That's 17:110. And He said, To Allah belongs the best names, so call upon Him by them and leave those who deviate concerning His names. 7:180. And He said, His are the best names. Whatever in the heavens and the earth exalts Him, and He is the exalted in might and the wise. That's 59:24. Then Abu Yusuf continued, Allah has commanded us to unify Him in Tawheed. And Tawheed is not established through Qiyas because Qiyas involves comparison to something similar, and Allah has no similarity and no equal. Blessed is Allah, the best of creators. That's 23:14. How can Tawheed be comprehended through Qiyas when He is the creator unlike the creation? There is nothing like unto Him. 42:11. Allah has commanded you to believe in everything His Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, has brought, and He said, Say, O mankind, I am the messenger of Allah to you all. To Him belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. There is no deity except Him. He gives life and causes death, so believe in Allah and His messenger, the unlettered prophet who believes in Allah and His words, and follow him so that you may be guided. That's 7158. Allah has commanded you to be a follower, listening, and obedient. Had the matter of Tawheed been left open for the Ummah to seek through their own reasoning, analogy, and personal whims, they would have gone astray. Have you not heard the words of Allah? But if the truth had followed their desires, the heavens and the earth and whatever is in them would have been corrupted. That's 23:71. Understand what has been explained to you. And that's from the book. This is now your commentary. Imam Ibn Manda included this in his book At Tawheed. Muhammad ibn Abi Ja'far as-Sarkhasi reported to us the complete isnad and matan. I would argue that Muhammad ibn Salama al-Balkhi was a well-known Hanafi jurist, and I do not believe there is any issue with him. Bishr ibn al-Walid al-Qindi is thiqa, trustworthy, and virtuous. No fault has been found in him. In light of the above and the text in full, and as the text has been quoted, in full has been quoted, peruse this careful. Read it many times, even read it in the reverse, and to inform us where exactly is mention of the division of Ibn Taymiyyah. Desperation. Section desperation. Furthermore, the followers of the lying deviant Wahhabi sect have falsely claimed that At-Tabari and even the distinguished scholar, the illustrious companion Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, with both of them, preceded them in the erroneous tripartite division, or in some of their details. To this we respond, may Allah protect them from such an accusation. Even if these corrupt divisions or some of their false details had come from the eminent scholar Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, or from anyone else beneath him, we would have cast them aside. No one after the Book of Allah, or besides the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessing be upon him, holds authority. We have already refuted the interpretation of Abdullah ibn Abbas, may Allah be pleased with him, regarding the meaning al-Muhaymin, which he explained as the witness and trusted, whereas in truth it means the ruler, the dominant, the controller. Some so that's in terms of naskh, isn't it? You mentioned Muhaymin alayh when it comes to abrogating. Some members of so just to put some context to this, so basically it's ironic that the people who are obsessed with going back to the Salaf and who are obsessed with not having innovations, the tripartite definition itself
There's
falls
no
in.
innovation, but they try to connect it somehow because this is not an innovation. It is well established because they're desperate.
Because they've painted themselves into a corner. This is
Yeah, yeah.
their thing. Some members of the group, particularly the more skilled followers of the Wahhabi sect, have claimed that the aforementioned tripartite division is based upon a comprehensive induction of the text of the Quran and the prophetic Sunnah. So using logic here. Since some
Mhm.
of these figures, such as Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, may Allah have mercy on him, were known for their honesty and precision, it is likely that they were misread by Ibn Taymiyyah's citation of dozens or perhaps hundreds of verses, along with several ahadith, when discussing Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, and Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. This is particularly evident in his insistence, marked by a strange persistence and obstinacy that the mushrikeen of Quraysh had no shirk in their belief in al-Rububiyyah. It appears that Ibn Taymiyyah himself was convinced of the correctness of this statement and believed that he had thoroughly examined and completed the evidence. To this we respond, sufficient for you is an enlightened and critical reading of the verses of the Holy Quran, which we have previously mentioned. Coupled with that, one should also peruse the previous chapters of this work. They relate to the historic reality of shirk in Arabia. What he missed from the verse of the Holy Quran far exceeds what he cited, as did his omission of the majority of prophetic hadith and historical reports. Secondly, even in the limited number of verses he did cite, he did not present most of the verses in their full context, but rather severed them from their proper context. This is the action described in the verse, like those who divide themselves into bands and abuse the Quran. Uh, um, okay, that's 15, 90 and 91.
القرآن عظيم. Yeah. Mhm.
Adid, yeah. This is
عظيم.
high. This is highly reprehensible. He interpreted certain Quranic terms based on his own language and the terminology of later scholars, whereas the Quran was not revealed in your language, nor mine, nor in the language of latter generation. It was revealed in a clear Arabic tongue. This is akin to the action of those who distort words from their places, which again is also highly objectionable. Compounding all of this, he imagined meanings in the revealed text that were not there, allowing his limited perceptions and extravagant imaginations to take precedence as the guiding principle, while relegating the revealed text to a subordinate role. This is in direct opposition to the command of Allah. Alif Lam Sad, this is the book which has been sent down to you. So let there be no distress in your heart because of it, that you may warn thereby, and a reminder to the believers. Follow what has been sent down to you from your Lord, and do not follow other protectors besides him. Little do you remember. That is Quran 7, 1 and 1 to 3. As a result, he committed serious errors in understanding these texts, and these errors became severe and glaring due to his neglect of the prophetic hadith, historical reports, and the lack of careful examination and critical analysis of the interpretive reports of the early scholars, the Salaf. However, the followers of the Wahhabi sect are skilled in the art of intellectual intimidation, defending their unsound assertions when they lack the evidence and proof by falsely attributing them to the Salaf. Yet Allah has absolved the Salaf of their false claim. To them we say, your repeated, tiresome phrases such as the doctrine of the Salaf, or this is what the Salaf upheld, and the worst of them, the ijma of the Salaf, are nothing more than cliches. Shinshina, we recognize from old rhetoric and no longer deceive even the uneducated among the common Muslims. By way of additional comment, the expression originally used is shinshina is an idiomatic Arabic phrase meaning a habit we recognize from old. Okay, that's just an
Mhm.
explanation. Okay. We say to them, as Allah, glorified be his names, said to their forerunners among the misguided and extreme Christians, do not go in excess in your deen, and do not speak about Allah except the truth. And that's from yeah. And stop. That is better for you. In intahu khairul lakum.
I,
Okay, so that's you concluding. Okay. Okay, got a question in the chat. Were any of these hadiths specifically hidden because of tripart definition later by the Wahhabis?
I didn't understand. What did you
Any of
say?
the hadith about tripartite division? Any hadiths? I don't know. Were any of the hadiths specifically hidden because of this tripartite deviation by later Wahhabis?
I just thought which hadith are hidden. No, they just ignore them. They read them upside down anyway.
And
So,
your question, the final
could they
question
say
was,
it is Abu Zaid said it's a complete induction, complete survey of Quran and Sunnah? No, it's not complete, as we said. And we said in Shirk al-Arab, for example, the issue which Ibn Taymiyyah used as main one to establish that the Arabs did not have Shirk al-Rububiyyah. We discussed them there. That are taken out of context and so on. And many other ayats and so on were not taken into consideration properly. Yeah. So it's not a complete induction.
okay, so we've concluded this chapter.
I think the main motivation was that he did not like the definition of, which is the correct one, essentially correct one of the mutakallimin, of the theologian, that the most distinct features of divinity is independent and free creation by free will, by absolute sovereignty and free will. He did not like that. So no, it's not that. It's not that. For some reason or other, because it relates to issues of attributes also, which he's stuck because he's Hanbali, following Ahmad ibn Hanbal. So he got in this nightmare. Because he's trying to defend a certain position against another position without going to the fundamental source to see if both positions are partly or fully faulty. So he took one of them as absolute. Ahmad ibn Hanbal is the one who really speaks the truth 100% in his imaginary word. And the result is that what we had. In the matter of attributes, and from there it develops further in the attributes, divine necessity, etc. All of these things. It started with what earlier dispute about is the Quran created or not, and the divine attributes. It started from there. And also that the people like Al-Akbari, Ibn Battah, and so on, they insisted that this type of research somehow is injurious or damaging for Tawheed. It's not. It's a secondary study. It doesn't damage Tawheed. It damages maybe Iman or Aqidah, but not Tawheed. So they confuse that with that. Then we have said Tawheed al-Asma. There is no study called Tawheed al-Asma al-Sifat. Now, issues about Asma al-Sifat who may be undermining your Iman if you don't if you don't stick to the methodology of Quran and Sunnah, for example. But they are not a part of Tawheed. Study of divine attributes. Conflicting issues in that, because the discussion was because people were fighting about certain issues of attributes, rightly or wrongly, okay, and they want to make it to make it an important matter. Important matter is Tawheed. It's foundation of La ilaha illallah. If you say make an issue as an issue of your oneness of Allah and of Tawheed, that's the major thing. That's the fundamental thing. Let's make it big and important. That's it. It's self-deception. It's a self-deception. And then from there it goes off tangent, etc. Okay, carry on.
Okay, somebody asked the question. But Ibn Bar, does he have any? Does he have any take on this? The authority, Ibn Abdul Bar.
Which take on that?
The
is earlier, anyways. Earlier Ibn Taymiyyah. What's take? No, they Wahhabi mentions these three. They mention Ibn Manda. They mention Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, who is the main lion of the Hanafi fiqh. And they sometimes, because of certain words and certain statements, they mention al-Tabari and mention Ibn Abbas. That's all the things they mention. I don't think Ibn Abdul Barr has anything to say in that area which fits their tripartite Tawheed. I don't think so. No other scholar really.
Interesting is
So
that
these that they mentioned, because they mentioned 1, 2, 3, they thought it's the tripartite, which is not the tripartite, even Akbari. If you look at it, it's completely different.
also it's interesting how it shows that they have less animosity to Hanafis than the fact that they're referencing a Hanafi scholar.
Oh, no, because they're disparate. It sounds similar to that what they think. So, we take it as an authority. Otherwise, they are hostile to Abu Hanifa and
Appropriation.
Yeah.
Just appropriating anything, grabbing at stores. Okay. So it's next.
As you said, it's just inspiration. Yeah.
Okay. On to the next chapter, page 166, chapter 17, a highly misleading fatwa from the Saudi Church Council. That's the name that you gave it. In light of the fact that has been marshaled to date, in light of all that has been marshaled to date, there is no place whatsoever for the so-called fatwa, legal responsa, made by the Council of Senior Scholars in what is called Saudi Arabia. This fatwa of the Church Council was originally published in the magazine entitled Al-Hadi Al-Nabawi. The individual posing the question was none other than Dr. Shuhaib Hassan, and it is read as follows. The one from UK, Osama Hassan's father. Okay. Question. Some people from the callers have begun giving importance to mentioning Tawheed al-Hakimiyya in addition to the three well-known categories of Tawheed. So does this...
Because this is against the rulers now. Now things become hot.
So does this fourth category enter within the three categories? Or is it not included, so we make it a separate category that we must give extra importance to? And it is said that Sheikh Ibn Abdul Wahhab gave attention to Tawheed al-Uluhiyya in his time when he saw that the people fell short of Tawheed in that aspect, and that Imam Ahmed in his time gave attention to Tawheed al-Asma wa Safa when he saw the people falling short in Tawheed in that aspect. But as for today, then the people fall short with regard to Tawheed al-Hakimiyya, so therefore we must give attention to it. How correct is this saying? Answer. Tawheed is of three categories. Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, Tawheed al-Asma wa Safa, and there is no fourth category. And judging by what Allah has sent down comes under Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, since it is from the types of worship due to Allah, the one free of all imperfections, and all their types of worship fall under Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Hence, making al-Hakimiyyah a separate category is an innovated act, which has not been the saying of any of the scholars as far as we know. However, there were some of them who generalized, and some said that Tawheed is of two classes. Tawheed in relation to al-Ma'rifah, well, if Ithbat, known and affirmed, and it is Tawheed al-Rububiyyah and Tawheed al-Asma wa Sifat. And Tawheed in relation to al-Talab wal-Qasad, and it is Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. Then there are others who particularize and place Tawheed in three categories, as has been preceded, and Allah knows best. So it is obligatory to give attention to all of Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah and not to begin by forbidding shirk, since it is the greatest of sins and annuls all of the deeds of the person upon it, and the person upon it will remain forever in the fire. Also, all of the prophets began with the command to worship Allah alone and the forbiddance of shirk, and Allah has commanded us to follow their way and to proceed upon their methodology in da'wah and the rest of the affairs of the deen. So giving attention to Tawheed with its three categories is obligatory in every time, since shirk and ta'til of the names and attributes are still found. Indeed, they occur very often, and their danger increases towards the end of time, and the seriousness of these two is a matter hidden from many of the Muslims, and those who call to these two are many and active. The occurrence of shirk is not something restricted to the time of Sheikh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab, nor is it ta'til of the names and attributes restricted to the time of Imam Ahmed, may Allah have mercy upon him, as occurs in the question posed. Rather, their danger has increased and their prevalence has grown in Muslim societies today, so they are in the greatest need of those who will forbid from falling into them, and who will make clear their danger, whilst knowing that being upright upon the commands of Allah and avoidance of what He forbids and applying by His Sharia, all of that falls under realization of Tawheed and remaining free from shirk. And may Allah extol and send peace upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam and true followers and his companions. So this is your commentary. Aside from the formatting, this is the text that's produced from the supposed senior council of scholars, no less. One may legitimately query where is the actual knowledge underpinning any of the text. Indeed, an entire thesis could be written to disentangle the multiplicity of errors contained therein. Notwithstanding that, 6 points can be outlined in response. Analysis. Firstly, there is a very clear misinterpretation and obfuscation, if not deliberate misguidance, in describing the alternative categorization as an innovated act, as highlighted in the text. Here this presents to the simple-minded reader, or indeed listener, that the matter is a bid'ah in the legal sense. Categorically, this is not the case, as all the mentioned categorizations, including the one proposed in the book, are indeed invented and newly formulated in any case. They are terminologies, and there is no harm in using them, provided they are precise and accurately reflect reality. Otherwise, they become useless, of little benefit, or even harmful. Our concerns here are not baseless accusations or a matter of mere whisperings of doubt, but are grounded in reality. That much is evident from the statements of Ibn Uthaymeen, who was a member of this very council of senior scholars, who explicitly declared that it is an invented, innovated, and objectionable claim, branding it as a bid'ah and a deviation, as will be outlined in the next chapter. Second, notice the absolute insistence on the tripartite division, even though it contains clear intrinsic flaws. Coupled with that, it is its use as a pretext by scholars, nay, sycophants of the ruling political elites, to absolve them of all responsibility related to ruling. It seeks to provide a pathway for them to be absolved from the mire and stigma related to shirk and kufr within this area, even being utilized as a mechanism to avoid them being even held to account. Some people claim that they are the people of reasoning, with a unique insight, yet they excel only in exaggeration and empty, baseless rhetoric about blocking the means, choosing the lesser of two evils, forgoing the lesser of two benefits, and similar such absurdities. One need ask, where has all of that gone? Further to the above, the passing reference in the answer to ruling by other than what Allah has revealed is not an appropriate response to the question which was posed, because it was not about that specifically in any event. That is a matter falling within the domain of human action. Rather, it was about the concept of Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah, which is one of Allah's attributes and actions. Clearly, this alone should suffice to demonstrate the profound ignorance which was spouted by this insidious council. Even the reference which is made in the purported judgment by ruling by other than what Allah has revealed is done so incidentally. Its mention contains no analysis nor detailed explanation. While it neither nourishes nor does it satisfy, it does leave the gates wide open to matters of destructive kufr, arguably one of the greatest aspects of shirk that leads to damnation in the fires of hell. That is manifested by the alternation, in some cases, abolishment of the laws and rules enshrined in the revelation. And again, such individuals still have the audacity to claim they are people of reasoning and analogy, seeking to block harmful means and trying to ensure maximum benefit and averting harms. Is there not a greater harm than regulating the Sharia of Allah? In terms of wording and scope, the response shows a complete ignorance of the reality of people today and what takes place in their gatherings of discussions and debates. Finding individuals in the world who are studiously looking into intricate details underpinning Al-Isma wa Safa would be a rarity, except that is for the deranged followers still adhering to the sect of Wahhabism. They attribute Salafism only to themselves, that they alone are the true followers of the righteous Salaf. The imitators like Dr. Shoaib Hassan are no different. All of these groups are alike, be they from the Saudi Council of Senior Scholars to the group called Madkhali, all the way to Hizb al-Nur in Egypt. Concerning topics which are actually of concern and pressing for people, they revolve around the nature of legislation and governance, the topic of rights, including those of women, and the betrayal of the supposed Muslim rulers by way of their alliances, either with the elites in America or even now openly with Zionism. regarding the whispers promoted regarding whether the Quran is created, what Bishr al-Murusi and others, sorry, Murisi and others said, or even discussions pertaining to whether the Prophet is concerned light in reality or metaphorically, these are extremely narrow topics discussed by fanatics who claim to be Salafi, or those adherents of Sufism, among them the Ahbash, as well as others who resemble them. Contained within this category are the murderous groups, be that of the Jia of Algeria previously to ISIS, Daesh, and Boko Haram today. There are many other extremists of this ilk, the enemies of Allah, His Messenger, the noble companions, and the believers in general. Such individuals and groups live in the darkness of long-dead debates or in other imaginary worlds that have no connection or relevance to the reality of the contemporary world and the lives of people today. In actuality, there is an appalling level of ignorance found about the precise mission that the prophets undertook. The Council of Senior Scholars seek to belittle that prophetic message by conveying the view that the call to Allah, to worship Allah alone without partners solely relates to calling people to a set of specific rituals, be that prostration, bowing, sacrifices, or the like. They would have us all believe in such superficiality, yet it is a blatant lie which is leveled against a noble and honored prophetic line. To refute this, one only needs to consider the mission of the Prophet Lot, peace be upon him, where in his message we even find mention of specific ritual acts like bowing or prostration. His primary call was to abandon the indulgence in immoralities and abominations, and there was never any reference to asnam, idols, or even deities worshipped besides Allah, nor any calls for seeking their help or refuge. No wonder the abysmal understanding from the so-called Council of Senior Scholars. In truth, it is a trivial, ridiculous understanding, bereft of real knowledge, reflective of a backward, dull intellect. Yet it also raises some serious doubts about the very nature of the council itself and its members. They are nothing more than sycophants in the service of a corrupt and tyrannical regime, issuing decrees to curry favor with whatever corrupt member of the royal family holds power. That so-called blessed state, as it was once described by Ibn Abbas, is in fact a monstrosity. Its record in allying with the enemies of Islam, be that to destroy Iraq or to hand over Palestine to the Zionists, is well known. Not to mention its membership of international organizations which have a track record of killing, humiliating, and occupying the lands of Islam. Internally, Islamic laws are replaced by rules and regulations which are abhorrent, from the racist Saudi citizenship and residency to having usury in the banking system. Coupled with this, the Saudi state has consistently waged a relentless war against any sincere and enlightened calls for a return to the Deen of Islam. Following in the footsteps of their Western masters, legitimate opposition is labeled as terrorism, innovation, and extremism. One can expend much ink in listing the crimes of the Saudi state, so much so it would turn the hair of the youth white from horror. All the while, the Council of Senior Scholars justifies the status quo, enjoining the evil and seeking to forbid the good. May Allah lift the cloud of darkness that has hung for too long over the Arabian Peninsula and all Muslim lands. Well, that's a soundbite right there. Inshallah. Okay. Sorry, Abu Wahab, you want to say something?
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Professor. So, regarding the first who divided Tawheed into three categories, I think it's futile to argue in this, because simply the other faction will claim that oh no, it is all mentioned in the Quran, that we did not innovate this the Trinitarian Tawheed of the division of Tawheed. It's all in the Quran. As the Muhammad Amin al-Shanqiti, he said in Adwa al-Bayan, according to istiqra, observation from Quran, Tawheed is divided into Uluhiyya, Rububiyya, Asma and Sifat. So even Imam al-Shanqiti, he claimed that it is from the Quran. So it's not based on the Salaf. So it's futile to go back to search who's the Salaf who first.
Yeah, but they do it, so we answer everything they come with. That's we are responding to them. And we respond to relations coming from Quran by induction. We say it's not correct.
Yeah. So how would you respond to them when they say that it is observed in the Quran? It is mentioned already in the
We
Quran.
already discussed on what Abu Zaid said.
Mm.
Abu Zaid, yeah, we already said.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
not a complete induction and the discussion of the ayat. They're taken out of context. They not cover many ayahs. They never touch the ayah of Tamanu, etc. That's discussed previously in all previous chapters. So the alleged complete induction is not a complete. Is deficient.
I
And
see.
even each place, like for example, the seven contexts which sometimes here سيقولون الله لا يقولون الله. You remember
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
seven
Yeah.
pieces? We
Yeah.
discuss them and show what is the effects in that and how they have been taken out of context.
Yeah.
If you get the context and then showing that it does not exclude other types of shirk.
Exactly.
You don't have shirk
Exactly.
in these specific points. It
There is
doesn't
hidden
exclude other.
shirk.
Yeah.
There is hidden shirk in them. Yes.
Not a hidden, the clear shirk, which is that I is not addressed.
Subcategory. I mean, yes.
So
Yeah.
we discussed also in Shirk al-Arab. So we discussed all these, the famous 7 ayahs, which may be confusing. Some of them may take it as a confusion because they got in the habit to just take it out of the context. If you see the context, it's very clear.
Ironically, I want to respond to them when they say that we observed this tripartite division from Quran. Okay, so why you haven't observed the Tawheed al-Hakimiyya when Allah says وَلَا يُشْرِكُ فِي حُكْمِهِ أَحَدًا? Why you haven't made this a fourth category then, right? So it's all mentioned in the Quran.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Jazakallah khair.
Okay.
That's all answered here. Yeah, carry on.
Okay, so that finishes that chapter. So you had a very good dig at the Al-Saud there.
Yeah, just casually, because we are not writing a book about political affairs, current ones, and commenting on regimes and so on. But in that situation, it became necessary because that council is regarding as the idol of Salafi and Madkhali all over the world. Okay.
I can imagine they're going to die out soon. They're going to die out because they're going full on secular. Sorry, far away, bruv.
No, I was just going to say, Islam. I was just going to say, Abu Muhab, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Well, but don't you think like they did actually include, saying that وَمَنْ لَمْ يَحْكُمْ بِمَا أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْكَافِرُونَ. They said that, so they said that's part of uluhiyya, but they're still acknowledging, I think, a level of hakimiyya, but they're just putting it under uluhiyya.
Yeah, it's separating in a part is bid'ah and so on, because they will run away from it, because within the uluhiyya, it's not really, and it's actually under rububiyyah. تأخذ أحبارهم ورهبانهم أرباب من دون الله. But if they admit that, then the definition of rububiyyah and uluhiyya fly away. They are stuck. They can't get it anywhere.
Yeah.
That's
which is why we always say that it just you
so we put it under uluhiyya to escape that part. We say it's under rububiyyah because the ayat al-ahbar man takhadha barah when the tafsir of بعد التفسير who delivered Adi ibn Hatim, which is the only acceptable tafsir, obviously, that it's they legislate and so on, and this and the ayah after that conclude والمسيح ابن مريم, we know because it's divine essence. Leave the Masih ibn Maryam out. وما أمروا إلا ليعبدوا إلها واحدا. So by appointing these laws beside Allah, they violated the لا إله إلا الله. That's so it is rububiyyah, which is in this case on top of uluhiyya or intermixed with uluhiyya. So they will get stuck then. How did you disentangle it this way? The whole thing is a big mess. But because it has been carried by the Wahhabi movements, and they have a state, and they have now in modern time billions and hundreds of millions and billions coming from the oil, so they can spend and campaign and publicize. It became widely spread as if it is really as if it's revealed text. And many generations they grow up on the books of Ibn Taymiyyah, which had been printed and distributed almost free, but in many cases completely free.
Yeah.
And any counter books have been known. Nobody is distributing them. Although there's some Ash'ari responses and some Shia responses are quite well structured and well, but you find an Ayatollah in Baghdad dividing Tawheed in 5-6 parts, including Hakimiyya and so on, because they make an error in one of the parts. And secondly, he is not supported by any states, and and nobody is distributing his book widely, but his writing is vastly superior to anything else we have seen anywhere. Yeah. And if even if they come to widely distributed, this is a Shia, it's Rafidi, they care the Sahaba, they come with that. We know that how it works. And so the widespread of that in recent times to that level is because of the finances and the power of the Saudi state. Yeah, mostly. Yeah. Carry on, Rash.
Okay, continue on to chapter 18, page 172. Another heinous fatwa from Al-Uthaymeen. Okay, just a second. Just put that one in there. Wait a second. If the aforementioned fatwa, legal responsa from the Church Council of Senior Scholars, lacked any substantial evidence of knowledge, then the following by a member of the very same council, Sheikh Muhammad ibn Salih al-Uthaymeen, can only be described as outright shameful and scandalous. Quite a famous, or rather infamous, answer. This was originally outlined in a weekly open door meeting on cassette tape. A common recording mechanism prior to the age of digitalization and the internet. To explain what that was, young people way. One individual in attendance posed the question, what do you say, may Allah forgive you, about someone who has added a fourth category to the Tawheed, naming it a Tawheed al-Hakimiyya? Outlined below, verbatim, is the ingenious answer which Al-Uthaymeen gave. We say that he is dal, misguided, and he is jahil, an ignoramus. This is because Tawheed al-Hakimiyya is the Tawheed of Allah, the Exalted and Sublime. Allah, the Exalted and Sublime, is Al-Hakim. If you state that there are three subdivisions of Tawheed, tripart definition, as has been said by the ulama, Tawheed al-Hakimiyya is contained with Tawheed al-Rububiyyah, because Tawheed...
You see, another Rububiyyah. Correctly here, and the previous guys were another Uluhiyyah.
Pick and mix, innit? Pick one, innit? It's just arbitrary. But
the division itself is a fallacy. It's having a fundamental problem, as we discussed. The whole book is about that. So it's fallacious. But he is right here. It's part of the Rububiyyah, the sovereignty, the rulership. Yeah. Yeah.
Because Tawheed al-Rububiyyah is the Tawheed of al-Hukm, al-Khalq, and al-Tadbir of Allah, the Exalted and Sublime. And this viewpoint is reprehensible. How can there be Tawheed al-Hakimiyya? It is not possible to unify al-Hakimiyya. Does it mean that the entire world should have a single Hakim, ruler, or what? Oh, this is ridiculous. Sorry, does this translate better in Arabic? Because this sounds stupid to me.
Yeah, it is.
So that's like saying, this is Allah's attribute. It's not Allah doesn't. We don't expect Allah to come down and directly rule us in that sense. So no one's insinuating
just carry on.
Thus, this viewpoint is reprehensible, a matter of innovation, a condemned notion to be rejected. It is to be said to the one advocating it, if you were to mean that al-Hukm is the preserve of Allah, then that falls inside of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. That is because of Rabb, the Lord is al-Khaliq, the creator, al-Malik, the possessor and the administrator of affairs. Thus, this viewpoint is bid'ah, innovation and dalala, misguidance. Have you ever seen such a line of argument based upon such absurdities? This is your comment. This isn't limited to the clumsiness of style or weakness of language, which could be expected from an impromptu question and answer question answer session such as that. Nor, for that matter, is Al-Uthaymeen known for a lack of precision or clarity in argument. On the contrary, read his fatwa as they relate to topics of fiqh regarding menstrual bleeding, postnatal bleeding, and the like. And on those topics he can be precise. At its core, the answers he gives stem from sycophancy before the ruler, a slavish servitude to the tyrants who rule by other than what Allah has revealed. Moreover, there is a clear mixture of terms revealing that Al-Uthaymeen doesn't clearly understand the distinction between Ar-Rabb, the Lord, Master, the Owner, and terms like Al-Khaliq, the Creator. How can people place any trust in leadership to a man like this or his ilk? How can anyone revere his opinions, some even to the point of hallowed veneration? Isn't there Islamic ruling that Muslims should be one united ummah, not split into 50 plus statelets, many of which slaves in the global empire of the United States? Shouldn't the Muslim ummah have political unity with the unified adoption on war and peace, a single ruler who was the Caliph of Islam? I take it this is before your discovery on citizenship.
Independent,
Yeah.
even after discovery, yeah. Many people say that, and this is the general view of classical scholars anyway.
Isn't the ideal political type, as required by Islamic law, mandated to spread the message of Islam to all humanity, to live under its message, experience this justice? Why is it considered so strange to the priestly class of Arabia or any other land to not want to see this earth living under the commands of Allah via the political system He has given us? A system which dispenses justice to all. Ibn Uthaymeen surely knows this in his heart with certainty and cannot be totally unaware of it. So why the need to mock and then try and ridicule? Didn't Ibn Uthaymeen fear that angels would rebuke him when his death approached? As we read in the blessed verse, we were just chatting, just amusing ourselves. Say, were you making jokes about Allah, His revelation, and His messenger? Do not try to justify yourselves. You have gone from belief to disbelief. And that's Quran 90, 65 to 66. From this, it should be manifestly clear by now that there is great confusion, contradiction, and flawed reasoning that has underpinned the tripartite definition of Tawheed that has become so commonplace. Adherence to the tripartite definition, as showed above by Ibn Uthaymeen, cannot place the very notion of al-Hakimiyyah into any reasonable construct. Nor do they deny it outright, as the educated among them surely know that would lead them to stray into open and clear kufr. The Council of Senior Scholars in what is called Saudi Arabia claims that Al-Hakimiyyah is a branch of what they call Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah, stating explicitly ruling by what Allah has revealed falls under Tawheed al-Uluhiyyah. However, as shown, Al-Uthaymeen had a somewhat better stance, stating explicitly Tawheed al-Hakimiyyah falls under the rubric of Tawheed al-Rububiyyah. Reflect also on the vast difference between these mixed-up statements by Ibn Uthaymeen and the empty talk and ramblings of the Council of Senior Scholars. Note the words from the eminent Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. Many others seek a judge other than him, seeking his judgment, arguing for him, and being pleased with his judgment. These three then are the pillars of Tawheed, that one takes no Lord other than him, nor object of worship nor judge. Here one should note well where he made al-Hakimiyyah, taking Allah alone as the ultimate sole judge, not being content with any other as being a pillar of Tawheed. This is despite the fact that Ibn Qayyim made the serious error of following Ibn Taymiyyah's incorrect definitions related to Rububiyyah and Al-Uluhiyyah. Next, the prophetic reminder. Indeed, the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, and his family spoke to the truth to highlight such matters. He clearly explained that knowledge isn't withdrawn from the people by Allah, but rather is taken away with the death of ulama. Yahya related to me from Hisham, who dictated it to us from my father, narrated to me that he heard directly from Abdullah ibn Amr saying, I heard the Messenger of Allah ﷺ saying, Allah does not take away the knowledge by removing it from the people. Rather, He takes it away by the death of the ulama. Until when no alim remains, people will take the ignorant as leaders. They will be asked, giving rulings without ilm, leading themselves and others astray. That's from Musnad Ahmad. Arguably, this is one of the most authentic channels of transmission in the world. It is hadith musalsal, a continuous connected channel of reporting correct, coupled with explicit mention of hearing and dictation, as it has been recorded in the Musnad of Imam Ahmad. He also records it with similar wording by way of other Sahih lines of reporting. Other Imams have followed suit, like Al-Bukhari and Muslim, and the latter conveying a wide array of its varying channels of reporting. Compilers of other connections like the Sunan al-Tirmidhi, al-Darimi, and Ibn Majah record it with authentic channels, to name but a few. Narrated independently from an alternative an alternate pathway by al-Bukhari in his Sahih, we have the following two. Sa'ib ibn Talid narrated to us, Ibn Wahab narrated to me, Abdurrahman ibn Shurih narrated to me, and other than him, from Abdul Aswad from Urwa, he said, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallam, saying that he, the narrator, conveyed it in a similar manner and narrated it to Aisha, wife of the Prophet sallam. Thereafter, Abdullah ibn Amr undertook the Hajj, and so he said, O son of my sister, go to Abdullah and confirm on my behalf what you narrated to me from him. Thus I went to him and asked him concerning it. He narrated to me in the same way as he told me before. I then went to Aisha and narrated to her, and Aisha radiallahu anha, and narrated to her, and she was amazed, saying, by Allah, Abdullah ibn Amr has indeed preserved it well. And that's Sahih Bukhari. Imam Muslim has recorded similarly in his hadith, in his Sahih, with some additions. More time than is necessary need be placed upon discussing the nonsense which stems from the senior church council of Saudi Arabia. Be they ignorant, foolish, or open agents, conclusions remain the same. The trustworthy and divinely protected advisor, the Messenger of Allah sallam, provides clarity, unlike the obfuscation from the likes of Ibn Uthaymeen. Life within the temporal domain is far too short and precious. We need all turn away from the corruption and befogged minds. Going back to the main subject relating to a more accurate depiction of the categories or divisions of Tawheed is a far more important and worthwhile endeavor. Beneficial knowledge is gained from this subject. Righteous actions that reform souls, hearts, and conditions in this world subsequently follow. In turn, that brings us all closer to the presence of the knower of all secrets. In this way, we attain eternal happiness and salvation from the everlasting damnation of the fire by the guidance, mercy, and generosity of Allah. There is no other God besides Him, and in Him we trust and seek help. Ameen. Okay, so this ends this section. In fact, it ends an entire part. So it's up to you if we want to. The next part is the Abrahamic tradition, which talks about Sabians and all that.
What's the time now?
The time is 9. It's coming up to 9:30, 9:26.
Let's have a bit of this. What's this Abrahamic tradition? Is that because they changed the name of it? There's a chapter about
Sabaeans.
Sabaeans.
Sabians.
Okay.
Okay. So we're now on part 7, the Abrahamic tradition, and the specific chapters is going back. Reset chapter 1, page 179. Preamble. Who are the Sabians? Identifying who exactly are Sabians, sometimes spelled Sabaeans, Sabaean, has been a matter that has perplexed, on occasion confused many Islamic scholars. An extensive summary of the background and varying differences over the nature as well as identity of this group has been outlined by Muhammad ibn Fayyumi in the History of Pre-Islamic Religious Thought. Yet this analytical outline can be quite turgid and dense to peruse, particularly given the divisions or subcategories of As-Sabaiyya, the Sabians. Moreover, since they were the first encountered, many scholars and theologians tried to untangle their precise beliefs, whether they were originally stemming from As-Sabi'ah al-Hunafa, those who left the Arab Hanafi tradition and embraced the teaching of the Sabians, or whether they were an amalgam of previous pre-Islamic traditions covering the ancient Near East up to the advent of Islam. Writing in his acclaimed tafsir, Mafatih al-Ghaib, Imam al-Razi says, thirdly, and it is close to explaining who they are, is that they are a people who worship the planets. Thereafter, there are two viewpoints regarding this. Firstly, that the creator of existence is Allah, may He be glorified, except that He ordered reverence for the planets, designating them a direction of prayer, supplication, and veneration. The second view, that Allah, may He be glorified, created the heavens and the planets, the latter being responsible for management of worldly affairs, which includes matters of good, evil, health, and sickness, and He is the creator of it. Therefore, mankind has a necessity to show reverence to them because they are the entities governing the temporal plane. However, they all shall worship Allah, may He be glorified. This belief is attributed to the Chaldeans, to whom the Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam came to rejecting and refuting their belief. Yet most of the viewpoints that they have mentioned, yet most of the viewpoints that have been mentioned by the people of Islam, especially as-Sayfi al-Amidi, appear to be viewpoints of theologians and philosophers from the people of Haran, Ray, and Gundishapur. Indeed, Muslim scholars acquired a great deal of knowledge from these regions regarding the ancient history of Iraq, but also other branches of knowledge, including logic, philosophy, and medicine. It would seem that there are latter philosophical views which emerged after review and analysis and overview of such ancient beliefs. They did not necessarily represent the views of the wider ancient peoples of Iraq, such as that of the Sumerians, Babylonians, and Assyrians. Secondly, in spite of these numerous but often contradictory accounts, it is very difficult to arrive at a definitive view regarding as-Sab'iyya, the Sabians, who are mentioned by Allah the Mighty and Sublime in three different sets of Quranic verses, as set out below. This is Surah Baqarah. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. That's Surah 262. The believers, the Jews, the Christians, and the Sabians, all those who believe in Allah and the last day and do good, will have their rewards with their Lord, no fear for them, nor will they grieve. Next verse, I'll see the translation. For the believers, the Jews, the Sabians, and the Christians, those who believe in Allah and the last day and do good deeds, there is no fear, they will not grieve. That's 569. As for the believers, those who follow the Jewish faith, the Sabians, the Christians, the Magians, and the idolaters, Allah will judge between them on the day of judgments. Allah witnesses all things. That's 32:17. What is noteworthy is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa regarding the lawfulness in his view of marrying their women, since they were not idol worshippers, but held reverence for the celestial bodies akin to how the Muslims revere the Kaaba. This is despite the various practices and rituals that some might have mistakenly perceived as being acts of worship. In particular, the obsession of the adherents from the sect of Wahhabism. Admittedly, his two prominent students, Abu Yusuf and Muhammad ibn al-Hassan, dissented from his viewpoint because, in their assessment, they perceived that the Sabian reverence was based upon a belief in the divinity of the celestial bodies or planets, that it was not merely ritual actions. Hence, they argued that they were properly mushrikeen. Both students conformed with Abu Hanifa in viewing the Sabians as being Ahlul Kawakib, people of the planets. There's a long extract at the bottom. In the appendix. I'm not sure. This is just giving a bit of citation here. So if anyone wants to read it, that's page 182. There is no doubt that Imam Abu Hanifa excelled over both his students. He belonged to the distinguished early generations of Islam, likely having lived in the 2nd century, the era of the Tabi'in. This is evident from the fact that he met Anas bin Malik during his youth and narrated from him. He was a profound faqih, legal jurist, and a firm believer in Imam. Moreover, unlike his students just mentioned, he was known for engaging in debates with various sects, including atheists and mushrikeen. One can in fact argue that his overall understanding is far higher to that of Ibn Taymiyyah, let alone Miao and his renegade followers. In fact, he surpasses both by many thousand degrees, if Allah the Almighty wills. The text of the Quran provides an argument against Abu Hanifa on the proviso that the Quran intended to categorize the Sabians as being Ahl al-Qawaqib. While this is a credible viewpoint in that it sets them apart from being a sect of the Jews or Christians, however, one must note that such opinions in this area are not definitive nor conclusive, with significant scholarly disagreement on this matter overall. Determining their nature. Then, like an epiphany, we notice the linguistic structure as expressed in the previously mentioned, which provides important contextual clues where He, the Almighty, raised the words relating to the Sabians. I'll read the Arabic. إن الذين آمنوا والذين حادوا والصابيون والنصارى من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون. For the believers, the Jews, the Sabians, and the Christians, those who believe in Allah in the last day and do good deeds, there is no fear, they will not grieve. It is raised. It is definitely not a noun because the word or particle inna was placed at the beginning of the sentence. Certainly, this necessitates the conclusion that the intending meaning of the verse is either one of the followings, and those who are the Jews, and among them are the Sabians and the Christians, or it means, and those who are the Jews, the Sabians being a group among them, and the Christians. Given this, they could be regarded as being a group from among the Jews.
And that's that because in the ayah it says إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى, all of this مفتوح بإن, and then suddenly say والصابئون, it should be والصابئين if it is a category like this as a category. So why it is مرفوع? That was the question.
Sabi'un, as in it's a subject rather than an object. Or it's not.
It's مبتدأ. It is what do you call it? How do you call it? Something about with in English with is Muhammad is good. What's Muhammad?
Is a subject. You got subject and object.
And the object is good, yeah?
No, object good is an adjective.
No. What is the structure? Because in Arabic we have a mubtada and khabar without is
Yeah.
not. But
the mubtada is the subject, and then the would say the khabar is the predicate, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So here it is. If it's a subject, it should be of inna. It should be مفتوح صابئين, not صابئون. So how explain? Yeah. Some people claim, some mustajiqeen, the Quran has a linguistic error. Obviously, these are donkeys. Because the Quran is the control of the Arabic language, not the opposite. So it can't be. So what's the explanation?
I'm not sure. Is it if it was marfu, then is that it will be the fa'il? So it will be.
No, it's not fa'il. Inna is a mubtada. Is inna. The only interpretation is that the Quran made it marfu' just to hint الذين هادوا ومنهم الصابئون. ومنهم had been dropped and صابئون left alone. So that's the only reasonable way to explain this without having a linguistic error is that it is the صابئون are a subgroup of the Jews. الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئون, أو category of the Christian, one of these, ومنهم.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to translate that, to be honest. So, yeah.
But they don't translate this discussion. It was discussed originally, or it was maybe in شرق العرب من هم الصابئون, and they dropped it from there. I don't know how they shifted it here. Anyway, carry on. So they are definitely not the people of stars and so on. How come that the people of stars are the people of stars in Jindi Sabur and also in Harran, they tricked the Muslims by claiming we are the Sabi'in mentioned by the Quran. So we're not mushrikeen. That's it. They played that trick.
They claim that their origin is from Judea, like the origin of the religion is from Judea.
Who? Like, the people of Harran?
Yes, the Sabi'ins.
They claim that the Sabi'in mentioned in the Quran, but they are not Sabi'in mentioned in the Quran.
Different category. Because
they are star worshipper. Nobody is from Judea was known to be star worshipper. This is the Chaldean. This is the one from South Iraq in the time of Ibrahim.
Yes.
The stars are the divinities and so on.
Okay.
So that was the trick. But it's explained in Arabic. I think it's the Shirk al-Arab in the original one, not here. Anyway, carry on. Anyway, okay.
Although speculative, perhaps the Sabians were the followers of Yahya bin Zakaria, John the Baptist, peace be upon him, who fled the oppression of the Romans and their collaborators from among the Jewish elites. Those elites killed Yahya bin Zakaria and in their belief also crucified someone that they thought was Isa, Jesus, son of Mary, alayhi salam. They sought refuge in the land of Iraq, where significant communities of Jews had been residing since the Babylonian captivity, particularly in Al-Hira, located south of modern-day Kufa. taking advantage of the relative tolerance of the Sasanian Empire and their rivalry with Rome, and Allah knows best. I would argue that it would appear to me, and ultimately Allah knows best, that these original Sabians, upon monotheism, may well have become extinct altogether. Their numbers massively diminished following the Islamic conquest of Iraq, with huge numbers entering into Islam. The remnants of adherents to shirk may have opportunistically seized the opportunity to adopt and label themselves as the Sabians in an attempt to try and deceive the Muslims, hiding as people of the book. They would have intended to gain similar status to the Jews and the Christians. Historically, sources seem to show that this was particularly evident in the Syrian city of Haran. Perhaps those among the elites, priests, philosophers from among the mushrikeen of Haran were keen to present themselves to the Muslims as glorifying the planet's celestial bodies, taking them as a qibla in prayer and supplication, just as the Muslims do with the Kaaba. So this notion spread from the outset. Even the great Imam Abu Hanifa, may Allah be pleased with him, was taken in by this, yet serious blame cannot be placed upon him because people are treated with what they say and what they do. Thereafter, the actual truth regarding the matter was eventually outlined by his students. The esteemed judge, Abu Yusuf Yaqub ibn Ibrahim ibn Habib al-Ansari al-Qufi and Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Hassan ibn Farqad al-Shaybani al-Qufi, having said what they said, outlining the reality of the matter at hand. So Imam Abu Hanif was right, just as the two Imams Abu Yusuf and Abu Abdullah were also right, because the reality is that the reality that is being judged is different. Everyone agrees that the mere presentation to the rites of glorification has no intrinsic value. Instead, the lesson is only about the reality of the content and the essence of belief.
Mhm.
Another example of Imam Abu Hanifa being way ahead of his time, innit?
Yeah.
Inshallah. Okay. It's also interesting because it shows that just because someone is before doesn't necessarily have their full picture. So this entire
Yeah.
fixation on just what they've said as having some kind of divine hujjah.
No, it's obviously nonsense. This is a dangerous attitude.
Okay. So the next chapter is chapter 2, page 186, an analytical exploration of the story of Abraham and his people.
I think we start next time because
Okay.
this is very, very, very good.
Okay, so we
I
can have
wonder
Q&A.
why they shifted Sabi'un in this place. It should have been in Shirka Arab. That's the reason I think we have missed it there. Anyway, here, no problem.
No problem. So, brother had a question. If you want to unmute yourself, you can. Okay. For anyone can just jump in, but don't need to worry about raising your hand now.
Yeah, so Professor, now regarding Fir'aun, he claimed the Rububiyyah and Uluhiyyah at the same time. Rububiyyah is understandable. I am your supreme Lord, he said. Ana rabbukum al-a'la. It's understandable according to the correct definition of Rububiyyah, which is lordship. But when he said, I am your ilah, ma alimtu lakum min ilahin ghayri. And notice he said that I haven't known any ilah but myself. But people know by necessity that they haven't created themselves, that this Fir'aun is not the only
That
divine.
means for him, Ilah is similar to Rabb at that time. But also the Old Testament testify when discussing the meaning of Il and Ilah, and we discussed that. At time there was no distinction. Il and Ilah at that time, in their people conception, were essentially some kind of a Lord and supreme Lord and various levels of lordship. So it's the same as أنا ربكم الأعلى ما علمت لكم إلا. I am the supreme Lord, so I am the
Yeah. Because I was thinking regarding the solving the problem of Fir'aun claiming uluhiyah, that he could have seen himself as a incarnation of the divine.
But that's the belief that also that he joins his father after death.
Exactly.
Things
Yes.
like
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this is not, I think, the reason. That's it. We say قال أنا ربكم الأعلى. That's clear what's meaning. I am the supreme.
Exactly. Yeah. That's
I'm
absolutely
the one who
clear.
legislates, and then based on that, I must be divine somehow in his concept.
I see. I see, I see. Because notice also in the following ayah, فأوقد لي يا هامان على طين لعلي أطلع إلى إله موسى وإني
Mhm.
لأظنه من الكاذبين.
I
So
see.
so he regarded the divine of Musa, the deity of Musa,
As
as to be
non-existent,
false.
as non-existent. Yeah.
Yeah. So that means that he saw, at least in a limited sense or a partial sense, that he is incarnation of divinity, because
We don't know these details because the Quran is telling us what He is saying, not what Allah is saying about Ilah. So make a distinction. Don't fall in this trap.
ah
There's a trap many people fall in. They think what the people are stating in the Quran quotes them, mean necessary. That's a correct one. It's not necessary. Like in ذو القرنين فإذا جاء وعد ربي جعله دكاء وكان the Quran perceived that it's so firm and well built that only يوم القيامة will be level. It may be leveled before that by earthquake. But that's what he expects, what he thinks. No.
I see.
So be careful in that. It's very important to see what the people say and so on.
Okay. So ultimately, you're saying at that time, Pharaoh did not have a distinction.
They may have, but it's very confused.
Okay.
It's not very clear.
Okay, I see.
It's very clear. And the way they think about the universe created, that the heaven is like a man and the earth like a woman, and they copulated and produced other gods and so on. It's completely different. It's completely extremely anthropomorphic and things like that. Yeah. If you see that what the archaeology and the reading of the script had produced, it's a mix of things which are all of them like similar to the myth of the Hindus now. Or the myth of the Hindus have been made more sophisticated in the last 1,000 years by interaction with Muslims and so on. But originally it was like that, completely confused. Some gods of the north become the gods of the south. And because the south are mostly the untouchable, the lower class, then the deities belonging to the south are regarded as satanic, while the deities of the north are regarded as superior, and all of these things. It's very, and what they think about the deity is very confused in their mind.
Obscure, yeah.
Obscure. But the issue of Rabb A'la in Egypt is clear because the supreme king who owns everything, and the people are his slave. In India, we have never this central. Every household has its own deity, and every village has deities. So they are more like manifestation of some of either values or manifestation of certain values, like trustworthiness. This is a good for trustworthiness. Courage. There's a good for courage.
And fertility.
Fertility is a good for fertility, and so on.
Yeah. Okay. And another point to make, which is the definition of rububiyyah. Few chapters back, you said that there's a differentiation between the masdar, the noun of rababa, which is ultimately for lordship, and rabawa, which is growing, taking care of, which is for riba, for example.
Has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, they are different. But I was having a problem with this, but then I came to conclusion that it makes sense what you said, because the guy who, for example, grows his money or take care of a foster or offspring, he might not necessarily be the owner of that property, for example. So he might be doing it for someone else, right? So I could have take care of the money of another person, but for not for myself. I don't own the asset. He owns it, but I'm just taking care of it. I'm just growing it for him.
Yeah.
You know. So I came to this conclusion that rabawa and rababa is different. Because rabawa does not necessitate rababa. Rabawa does not mean that he owns.
Some people confuse it because the waw is not a Christian set place. They think it's the same word. It's not the same.
Yeah.
The same confusion with uli al-amr. Many people think uli is have the same root like wali al-amr, and they think it's uli al-amr is a plural, and the single word is wali al-amr. It's actually the single should be dhul amr. Uli is the is coming from awal, and wali comes from near walaya, and the other one is awala. It's these two things are very confusing. They have to be separated. But this is we would be discussing inshallah in muwala and muada.
I see. But ultimately, you agree with me that growing something, taking care of, does not mean he owns it.
Completely independent. Completely.
Yes,
That's
yes,
from the linguistic rababa. We're dealing with the triplet root rababa.
Rababa, yes, which is made by shadda rabba.
Which is either the one who manages and controls, or the one who owns.
Yes.
Not necessarily one who creates. We give the example that the one who creates, if he is not creating for himself, like for example, the Japanese worker who creates a car, we have a Honda from Japan, is created by a factory. This is the creator of the Honda. But he's not the maker of the Honda, because you have the Honda, you own the Honda, you are the Rabb of the Honda.
But for example, then a third category, for example, I own the Honda, but then my neighbor or my friend, he takes care of it. He washes it. Although he's not the owner.
That's not an issue of Tawheed. It's irrelevant for that. This is the issue was.
Which is Rabawa. I'm saying that the third category
the issue. Rabawa, we have nothing to do. Don't get Rabawa in the game. Throw it out. Absolutely.
Okay.
Sometimes they say the one who manages a rabawa and so forth, and grow things and so on. That's a confusion by them. That's what. But the point we're answering with Taymiyyah is that when we say Rabb is the one who creates and so on, say no, the one who creates is not Rabb necessarily. The one who creates is the creator.
Yes.
And what he has created, if he creates for himself, he's also the owner of that, and he's the controller of that. But if he creates for someone else, so the concepts are separate. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala all coincide, because he creates for himself. He's creating for nobody. He's going not to sell to anybody. It's for himself.
Yes.
But originally, fundamentally, he is the creator. And being the creator, he's the owner of what he creates, and the master and the controller of what he creates, and absolute master and owner.
Because he's the ultimate divine.
Because the divine, he's the creator. Because the creator.
Okay. Third point, and I will end with this one, inshallah. Now, regarding uluhiyya, not rububiyya, uluhiyya now. I listened recently to a short video of Sheikh Hatim al-Auni. He was arguing to the followers of Ibn Taymiyyah that Ibn Taymiyyah had a problem with the mutakallimin. So al-Auni saying that mutakallimin got it according to him, got it correct. The definition.
We just said it earlier. You came just late, maybe to that. I said it earlier, but mostly Ibn Taymiyyah is motivated, but his problem with the mutakallimin. He wants to refute them.
But I'm saying that Hatim al-Auni, he is saying that mutakallimin also blundered in the according to us, they blundered in the definition of uluhiyya. They said tawheed ifrad Allah bil-ubudiyya.
No. That's not the mutakallimin. The mutakallimin said خص خصائص الألوهية is creativity. That's what الكلام. That's العبودية. That's someone else. Maybe someone else. Maybe, but the mutakallimin formally is خاص. The clear distinction of a divine being is that he has a creative power.
Which is the correct definition.
According to Ayat al-Tamadu, that's finished. Quran dictate that, finish, game over, and they were right, and Ibn Taymiyyah is wrong. But for some reason he got stuck somewhere for whatever reason it was. I don't know.
And as I'm saying that Hatim al-Auni, he assures that those mutakallimin got the definition of Ibn Taymiyyah. لا معبود بحق, and he gave example according he gave some mutakallimin scholars, I forgot the name, that they stated لا معبود بحق, even بحق إلا الله, that
but this is wrong. We discussed that to the ad nauseum earlier. This is also wrong. It is a hidden problem in that even. إذن لا معبود أو لا معبود بحق إلا الله. لا معبود is clearly false, but لا معبود بحق you may be tricked to think that's correct. It's not.
It makes it even worse, because there's no haqq and batil, essentially, right?
Because that it had hidden defects that makes لا إله إلا الله لا معبود بحق أو لا إله يعبد بحق إلا الله. This is the problem, because it becomes circular. You define ilah first and then ubudiyah, then ubudiyah first and then ilah.
I see.
Istihqaq and all these things. That's not ilah is intrinsically the creator. Simple.
Independent of ubudiyah or not ubudiyah.
Ibadah to be defined based on other aspects. Completely independent, based on rububiyyah and uluhiyyah, not the opposite.
Okay. I
we said that's the ibadah or ubudiyah will be enslaving ourselves to the Supreme Lord because he is the Supreme Lord. And acknowledging him as a Supreme Lord, ultimate sovereign, and as a result, automatically by necessity, he because he's the Supreme Lord, Lord meaning owner. Okay, he is on you, that's fine, but he's also the commander, the one who has the right of commanding and etc. And that has to be what will be the reaction from the created one in that if he acknowledges him as Supreme Lord. That action must be obedience, conditional obedience,
submission, yes.
Submission, obedience,
okay.
Being slave meaning being leveled down, being down low, as low as possible.
Okay, so in response to Hatim al-Auni, in the secondary matter, you are assuring that the formal statement of the mutakallimin is that they say uluhiyya is the divine essence,
the most distinctive aspect of divinity.
Okay.
خصائص الألوهية الخالقية، الخلق. الإله هو الذي يخلق. مثل يقول الرب هو الذي يخلق، الإله is the one who is worshipped.
He got it opposite Ibn Taymiyyah.
Got it done fallacy because he made an ibadah somehow primary or parallel to uluhiyya, and this is the catastrophe. It will never work.
Okay.
Because in the Arabic is also explained. I think maybe more expanded. That's also here in the English. We discussed that I think last time or the time before. We said the relation between two concepts, ilah and ibadah, or ubudiyya, must be either ilah is primary and ubudiyya is secondary. That's the correct one. There's no other one possible. Or ilah is secondary and ubudiyya is primary, meaning everyone worshipped is an ilah, and this is catastrophic and wrong. The Quran, or one is primary and the other is primary, and then the question are they how they are connected? That will bring circularity, or they are disconnected. That's going to contradict the Quran.
Or that he is not divine in azal.
This is the details. They said fine point, but I mean conceptual from the conceptual point of view.
Okay, excellent. Yes.
It's discussed before, But go back to the Arabic, inshallah, and then, but because you can't read Arabic. But in the English, we discussed that. There's the only possibility of these two concepts because they're somehow interrelated. What is the primary? What's the secondary? If any primary or secondary, either that's according to the Quran, not according to Ibn Taymiyyah and the Ilk.
I see.
Ubudiyya is based on that, which acts and so on directed to something divine. Then we have to define divine independent from any acts, independent from any action of the created being or any other being as intrinsic divine attribute. That would be the correct one. The second one, the other one is the opposite. Ubudiyya is first, and then if you direct something, if you prostrate to something and you declare prostration to be a ibadah, then this something is a divine being. Declare to you made your gods. That's to say what the Wahhabi say.
Yes.
Even in extreme form, Ibn Abdul Wahhab said, I think we quoted him there, I don't know if it's in the translation, but in Arabic, they say, if you circumambulate the Qabr al-Badawi, then you made the Qabr Allah, not even Ilah, Allah. To that extreme even.
Because of circulation, because of mere circulation.
Circumambulating, because of mere that. Because he regards as an act of worship, which is defined by itself. Or they claim if you stand still in a respectful way, giving us a greeting and so on to the flag, then you are committing shirk akbar, meaning you are worshipping the flag. The flag, you have declared the flag to be a divine being. But they don't say it like that, but it's shirk akbar. Shirk akbar, what does it mean that? Worshipping beside Allah. What is this beside? It's a divine being. جعلت مع الله إلها آخر إذا هذا إله. But sometimes they don't express it like that directly. And then both are parallel. Like there's no God worthy worship except Allah. There's no divine being worship except Allah. That's the wrong translation, which is often you hear Muhammad Hijab and others saying it, and they think is even Paul Williams is who fell in that trap. That make them this one is based on this one is based on this one, and this is circular.
Yeah.
Well, Paul Williams is a fan of Ibn Taymiyyah.
Yeah. He got in this trap. That's one. And that one, they are completely independent. Worship a set of acts, and a divinity is something separately. Completely. And this contradicts the Quran. Because the Quran says, Allah ta'budu illa Allah. So according to that, if worship is completely separate, ibadah is completely separate, then the command is that devote the worship to Allah, but it can be directed to someone else without being shirk and things like that. It becomes confusing, but it's discussed there in detail.
Yeah.
The various relation of the concepts. But the solution is item tamana or defining a law, and the mutakallimin found it. The most characteristic things for divinity is creative, with free will, obviously, creative power with free will.
I see. Okay, excellent. Jazakallah khair.
Based on that, everything becomes smooth and streamlined correctly.
Yes. Anyways, I was just mentioning these points because I missed a few halaqas back, inshallah. But other than that, everything is clear, inshallah. Jazakallah khair. Jazakallah.
Brother had a question far away.
Can you hear me down here?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, so this Friday, my work colleagues are planning to go to pubs. They're going to be going to about 4 of them, over the night. And they're thinking of inviting me over. I heard previously that you can enter these premises, but you have to be at a separate table. Does that count to pubs or just restaurants?
If sitting on the same table, no. Yeah.
Okay. And the other question is, if they bought the alcohol, but it was put on my table, do I just give it to them by my hand, or do I just have to bring in the waiter?
No, just tell them, take your, what's the problem with that? Take your alcohol.
They will be drunk. I know certain they'll be drunk to the point that.
But how they bring it to your table, then take it away and put it away. Tell them, no, it's no alcohol on my table.
Okay.
And if you think it's, and the best is there to avoid going there anyway, if you can. But sometimes it's
yeah. So I want to understand what is the thinking behind it, because from what I understand, you cannot deal with any alcohol. You can't.
No. The hadith clearly was prohibited for alcohol, including one. In addition, but the hadith that the Prophet cares 10 in the khamr. The sharibiha wa saqiha, the one who pour you the glass. وعاصرها ومعتصرها, the one who requests عصير for خمر, etc. mentioned the 10. And then another hadith, من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فلا يجلس على مائدة تدار عليها الخمر. On a table whose khamr is being drunk and turned around, you should not sit on that table.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So if you take the minimal thing, then in that case, you can stand with them. They drink. You have your own fizzy or whatever it is, standing there. And if they are sitting on a table and they bring that to your table, told them this table should be khamr free, and they bring it, you just take it, return it, or you stand up and say standing. And say, why are you standing? We came to sit with you because you brought khamr with you. You come without khamr, fine. Without your bottles. That's perfect. It's easy to explain. If you are clear in that, it's easy. And they will accept it, even if they are drunk. They will accept it. They will understand.
Yeah. The other question is, some of them will be driving, and I bet you they will be taking the bottles with them. They can. They might try and take me in the car. Will that be an issue?
No, there's not an issue. With the problem is that how can they drive while they're drunk? That's
I don't know. One of them will be definitely clean.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
No, there's an issue. They have their khamr. Are you carrying with them? Are you have a drink with them? No.
Okay, just like
this is not an issue.
Ideally, I'll be avoiding the situation, but let's see how it goes.
Yes, bruv, I've been working for 30 plus years. I just bail on them. Just, you know what I mean? Only time, in fact, I always used to think you can't be in their presence. So I used to be even more cautious. More recently, I just stand. But I don't, like, for example, I had a company meeting. They were going off, it was like in the morning, it was just like coffees and stuff like that. Then they started, they convened later for the whatever shenanigans. I just bailed. There's no need to, you know what I mean? It's easy enough to avoid. Just the difficult one is when they take you out for lunch. That's a difficult one because the entire culture revolves around khamr. But alhamdulillah, I mean, I'll just either bail on them or say, look, if you're gonna go, the minute you bring alcohol, I'm bouncing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's manageable. It's sincerely, it's not as serious as you think.
I mean, if you're sales, it'd be a massive problem because sales is the entire culture is getting people smashed out their face.
Yeah. That's clear. The other question was for the tripartite division. So Uluhiyya, Rububiyyah, and Asma wa Sifat. Was there anyone who's tried to make a new version of that? Of
No,
the
what new
scholars?
version? There's no new version. It's gone. It's a wrong division. The Tawheed is only one. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all my questions.
There's another problem. Raise their hand far away.
Yeah. Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, just I had two questions, but there's one additional one just for clarification. Regarding the alcohol, if it's on the journey, so the driver's clear, not drinking, is sober.
Yeah. So what do you have to do with
passenger, if they're drinking, that's not a problem because the issue is to do.
it? Yeah, but it's none of your business.
Okay.
You neither have the bottle with you, nor did you sell the khamr to them, nor do you drink with them, nor you carry them, nor do you have a plantation of grapes, so you have squeezed khamr for them. So
okay, so so the issue is about if you're sitting with them, that's where the problem is.
on the table on which the khamr is being.
So just to be explicitly clear, so I know Rash can cut this out. So sometimes in restaurants you go, they have 2 people table and 4 people table, and they combine them together. So this will still count as one table.
One table. The moment they combine it, it's one table. The people sitting as a group. That's very clear.
I wanted to make that explicitly clear in case someone thinks this is a physically separate table. Anyway, so my actual questions were, one was about ahkam and one was to do with Sabian. So the Sabian one was, sorry, that was ahkam. I heard that, look, but this made me remember that some say that, look, if back in the time when Muslims ruled India, I think Akbar, one of the rulers, he married a Hindu, but she believed in one God. So I know the mushriks, they have different beliefs and whatnot. Is it correct? Long as someone believes in one God, you can marry them, even though they're not Ahl al-Kitab, that ruling.
No, because the ayah is concerning Ahl al-Kitab.
Okay, that's what I was thinking. It didn't make sense.
Include Christian, although they believe in three gods in one. So still they regarded Ahl Kitab.
Yeah, the lawgiver is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the point. That's the end of the discussion.
They're following a book. This is an exception for the people of the book.
And the other question was regarding whatever's in the Quran. What I heard was, if anything's to do with the Akhirah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is stating something, then it's true. So people of Jahannam speaking and saying whatever their regret is that those statements are true and it's correct, even though Allah didn't say it? Or is it only what Allah has said, just to make sure that
that they will say is a report from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The content what they're saying, nobody will be lying. Everyone will be telling the truth most likely. But it is you cannot invoke it in explaining the meaning of Ilah and Rabb. So what's
that's
about that? That's my point.
No, I was just want to understand from a framework perspective. Anything that's been Allah's mentioned, like you gave of Dhul-Qarnayn, etc. These need to be qualified, and that's not necessarily
mention about other people saying. They may be what they're saying, maybe accurate, less accurate, maybe exacting with them.
Okay, Jazakallah.
And also in Akhirah, what else is the people of Akhirah saying? They lamenting, that's correct, that they are lamenting that they missed, that they made a mistake, all of that.
That's correct. Even people of Jannah, isn't it? They go for this.
Professor, I was just reading now.
Let's bring examples so we can clarify what's the meaning, what you mean with what they're saying. People of Jannah, what they will be saying. When some say, I have a Qareen who told me, are you Do you believe that he will be resurrected? You're just completely stupid. Then he said, let us look where he is. He looked, he found him in the hellfire. And say, Wallahi, laqad kitta an tudin, or you almost destroyed me. Were it not for Allah's mercy, I would have been with you in the hellfire. Something like that. That's true, for example. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else got any questions?
Yeah, Professor, I was just reading randomly. It seems that that it is correct that there is a controversy with the Sabaeans, that there are two distinct group, the Harran Sabaeans and the South Iraqi. And in one point at history, a Khalif, a Abbasid Khalif, he requested one of them to convert to a recognized religion. So they converted to the Sabaeanism, which is the one mentioned in the Quran, right? Because the one of them, at least one of them, they were pagans, not recognized in Quran. Like they were
maybe that's
Star
it, but
worshippers.
there's another story that they claim to be that, so that they are not they can pay jizya and so on. But that's a mistake of the Abbasi ruler or whatever, because
I think it's Ma'mun. It's Al-Ma'mun who
Ma'mun or not Ma'mun, he's a mistaken in that. He got the same problem like a Shafi'i, bringing the issue of jizya is only for Ahl Kitab. No, jizya for any mushrik.
I see.
From any mushrik, and they don't need to convert anybody. That's a fiqh blunder. That's it. But to comply with that, as I say, either you convert or we kill you.
Yes,
that's
absolutely
a scholarly mistake. Scholarly mistake. But that's historically what may have happened, individual mistake or not mistake. And for that, they took review, say, no, we are following Judaism or Isa ibn Maryam or anything like that. Or
yes.
Zakaria. What's up? But I'm discussing what's Sabi in the Quran, which came in their place of praise. That if they believe in Allah and their judgment, they are saved. الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والصابئون والنصارى.
مرفوع. نعم.
أي مرفوع. The only reason interpretation, besides طبعا the كلمة مستقيم, this is a grammatical error. This is only a donkey can say that. Quran is the one who dictates what Arabic is, not the opposite. And all these Arab at that time, nobody can say this is lahan there. It's just nonsense. It's just utterly nonsense. So والصابئون. It's in all Musahif. It's not in one Musahif to say maybe one scribe made a mistake or lapse of mind. So يعني ومنهم الصابئون الذين هادوا الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا ومنهم الصابئون والنصارى من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر فلا بخون عنه. إذا الصابئون هذول هم اللي هم then part of the Jews, most likely the follower Yahya ibn Zakaria.
Otherwise, if they are not category of Judaism, it should have been Sabi'ina, right?
Yeah, if it is another independent entity.
Yeah,
I'll give you a hint of this point.
I see.
Yeah,
I see. But anyways, I'm just mentioning that historically, it seems that there is a controversy regarding them, that at some point of history,
is not definitely what the Arab called fulan sab'a, هذا صابئ. For them, Sabi means someone who left his own his traditional religion. That's for them is a curse word or a negative word. That's not what the Quran means.
Yes, absolutely.
Because those who left their religion may become atheist, may become dualist. Yeah, like many branches of Tamim became Majus.
Yes.
From Qurashi, allegedly Abu Sufyan, maybe and his household, were additionally of Lat and Uzza, which somehow related. They believed in two divine beings. There was an Adiqa, two divine beings, that Allah and Iblis are brothers or something like that. Ayadan billah. Yeah. It's called Zandaqa. The Majus also have Zandaqa as a creed, but they are a structured religion. Zandaqa could be anyone who believe in light and dark in some day. For example, various sections of Christian merged into Zandaqa, like Marcion. Marcion believe this world and the Old Testament are revealed by the devil, the good, the father of Isa. And also Disaniya and Mani. Mani is also counted sometimes as an extreme deviant sect of Christians.
It's not Majusi, Zoroastrian?
No, he's a dualist. He is most likely a continuation of Marcion.
I see. Christian dualist, not
something like
Zoroastrian
that.
dualist.
But we can read about that. Check.
Yeah.
Ask
Okay.
ask ChatGPT to give you a summary. What's Manichaeism and Marcionism? What does it mean? What the maximum the scholar have achieved about their belief. Marcion is well known what he believes because he has the first one to have a book called Evangelion, which is a version of Luke, either edited Luke or an earlier version which was embellished to the Luke we have nowadays. And this is around the first third of the 2nd century. And he has also the first collection of the letters of Paul, 7 plus 3, which is called Apostolarium. So the only apostle recognized by him is Paul. He doesn't regard the one in Jerusalem as relevant because they are sticking to the commandments of the Old Testament, but this is from the devil. Yeah. He completed the job of Paul. Paul did not dare going to that, or because he still believed in the Old Testament, he stopped before that. But he continued. But consistently, he should have continued either this or there's only one solution: to be Paulinian at the same time, and either you continue to be to follow all the way to Marcion, or you say the Old Testament is corrupted. Paul was believing that the Old Testament is not corrupt because he invoked it and quoted for establishing that Isa is the Messiah, etc., according to the Jewish tradition. So he could not forsake that. So the continuation is Marcion. One of the Marcion deviated, say, no, that's not true. The Old Testament is corrupted. It's not a revelation of the devil, it's corrupted. So what we have in our heart at that time is not a revelation. It's a corruption of Jewish scholars and so on, which is the correct point, by the way. It can be proven internally, but at the time the people were not that far progressed and not enough development has happened in that direction.
I see. Just for your information, perhaps you haven't noticed this one, that Sabi'un was mentioned in the Quran multiple times. One Sabi'un marfu' and many times Sabi'in.
That's the key one, which the only way to say وَمِنْهُمُ الصَّابِئُونَ. But that's the key one. The other mentioned meaning the same one, most likely.
The same one, but the hukum is different because here in
the hukum is Allah distinguished between them.
إن الله يفصل بينهم يوم القيامة.
The one is praising all these إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا ومنهم الصابئون والنصارى من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر فلا خوف عليهم ولا هم يحزنون.
He's praising in this one. He's praising them in this one, and in the other category, he said he will be the
judge between them يوم القيامة. من المجوس ولا إن الذين آمنوا هادوا والصابئين والنصارى والمجوس والذين أشركوا إن الله يحكم بينهم القيامة إن الله
يفصل بينهم يوم القيامة
إن الله يحكم ما يريد أو إن الله by the end of what the ayah says. Read it quickly if you have it.
Okay. So one second. إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والصابئين والنصارى والمجوس والذين أشركوا إن الله يفصل بينهم يوم القيامة إن الله على كل شيء شهيد. So he would be the arbiter between them. He's not praising Majus.
No, not praising nor praising even mu'minin. These are categories of beliefs. Allah will judge between them يوم القيامة.
Yes.
And the third place, what it says, is similar to this.
Yes, which is with the one with marfu'.
No, marfu'. We finished with it. What's the third one?
I have to check it real quick here. Okay, just give me a second.
It will be Sabi'in. Sabi'in.
Okay, so there's one in Surah Ma'idah, one in Surah Hajj, and one in Surah Baqarah. Just let me.
مائدة get the one of مائدة بس
إن الذين آمنوا والذين هادوا والنصارى والصابئين من آمن بالله واليوم الآخر وعمل صالحا فلهم أجرهم عند ربهم ولا خوف عليهم ولا يحزنون. That's
مثل similar to the one in the Baqarah, but the Baqarah with رفع and putting it after الذين هادوا.
Yes, absolutely.
ومنهم هنا is just إن as if a separate religion, but clearly it must be a religion which entails Tawheed and Iman Billah wal Yawm al-Akhir in a way which will save Yawm al-Qiyamah. Okay.
Yeah. So it is just in one place. It is mentioned marfu' to indicate that they are a type of
It's the
Judaism.
only interpretation of it. So the only two,
Yeah.
either a mistake, which is impossible, or تقدير الكلام ومنهم الصابئون.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Clear. Excellent. Alhamdulillah.
Let's settle the question clearly. It is most likely the follower of Ibn Zakaria or some other branches of Jews who ran away from the Roman oppression into the Persian Empire, who was quite tolerant, much more tolerant than the Romans.
Which has nothing to do, you're saying, with the South Iraqis who identify with
maybe South Iraq, maybe, but not with the later Harrani claiming they are Sabi'un and they are actually star worshipper and following the religion of Iraq.
Yeah, the one
they are forced either to convert or to a religion or will not take. No, you can take Jesus. We are the Sabi'in. The Quran mentioned that, so that's the trick they played.
I see. That's what they said in the history book, that Al-Ma'mun did it during the time of Al-Ma'mun.
Well, it doesn't matter who did it, but it's a mistake scholarly from that Ma'mun side and from the Shafi'i side. But from their side, that's the only way to escape.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, we don't need. We are already people of the book. The Quran mentioned us.
Yes.
With the Hud and Nasara, so we must be people of work, and we believe also in the Old Testament, something like that. They got it. They tricked. Even Abu Hanifa was tricked by them, because he said they don't worship the stars. We don't worship the stars. We are not star worshippers. We just take the star as a qibla, like the Muslimin direct into the qibla. This is our qibla. The God is behind that. Something like that.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, clear.
That's not the Sabi'in of the Quran. But Abu Yusuf does not recognize, no, these guys were claiming otherwise. That's what I said also in this section. Abu Hanifa is right and Abu Yusuf is right. Abu Hanifa is right because the people presented him like that in the debate, and he did not see anything that addressing the stars or facing the stars meaning necessary or worshiping the stars, because the Muslim faced the Kaaba without believing. It's only a qibla. Say the stars is our direction. We are not star worshipper. But in reality, they believe in the divinity of star. Abu Yusuf didn't recognize that, detected the trick. And they say that.
Yes, excellent. Okay, clear. Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair.
Okay, shall I call it a day? Next week we'll be starting from chapter 2 of analytical exploration of the story of Abraham and his people, page 186, inshallah, volume 3.
Next week will be which day?
That
21st.
Yes.
Okay.
All
festivity.
22nd, yeah. Yeah, we're missing the various Christmas events, so next week is
I think 21. Today, what's the date today?
15th. Next week is 22nd.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're going to miss New Year's, everything, so we can carry on as normal. Probably Ramadan will probably put a pin in this one, but carry on the theory, inshallah.
Until Ramadan, inshallah, بإذن الله. تمام. Okay. يلا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وبارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وآل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. وتصبحون على خير والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.